今日はクリプトの業界で結構世界的にも有名なトレーダーでもありアナリストでもあるレックトキャピタルさんにインタビューをすることができました。今日はこの動画前半なんですけど、この前半では今のこのマーケットの状況っていうのを、プロのトレーダーの視点から解説していただいたりとか、今後のビットコインの価格どういうところまで行くのか、もう終わりなのか、まだまだ伸びるのかとかね、そんなところとかも結構細かく聞いてきているので、ぜひ皆さんね参考にしてみてください。で、後半はコインクラブジャパンというところで、下にリンク貼ってますけど、そっちで、継続して会話をしているので、ぜひ興味があればそちらもご覧ください。ということで、どうぞ。Welcome back to my channel, everybody. Today we have a special guest. We have Rekt Capital. Thanks so much for coming, man.It's
awesome to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's you're super famous and popular in the industry, especially in technical analysis type of group of people. They really admire you. So I would like to kind of learn about what's going on in the market and then what do you see in the market and what's the trends and stuff like that.
Absolutely. Right now.We've recovered from a mid-cycle correction. We've seen the minus 53% crash in May, and now we've been able to just recover those losses entirely and actually enjoy a bit of price discovery to new all-time highs. So that's a very pivotal moment for Bitcoin because we have confirmed a return to the bull market.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely people are, curious about what's gonna be the price action afterwards, right? Because we just saw the all-time high. But before getting to that, maybe could you explain what the Rekt Capital is and what you do?
So I'm Rekt Capital. I'm a crypto trader and analyst and author of the Rekt Capital newsletter, which is a top 5 crypto newsletter on Substack globally.
Woo!
And what the thanks, man. And what the newsletter is all about is and generally Rekt Capital as a whole, it's about delivering cutting-edge insights about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in a level-headed, unbiased manner. So it's all about talking about the market in a way that a weatherman would talk about the weather. He's supposed to be there to give you an idea as to what could you potentially expect about the market and just give it to you in an authentic, genuine way with what he can see at that moment, given the tools at his disposal. So that's exactly what Rekt Capital is about. Level-headed, unbiased, cutting-edge research that can make a difference to you as an investor going forward.
That's cool. So just to make sure, the newsletter is free or is it paid service?
Yeah, so there's a free edition that I try to post every 2 weeks. It's of course also a paid newsletter. I share the newsletter 3 times a week, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Whenever I publish a free edition, it goes out typically on Wednesdays every 2 weeks.
Awesome. Okay. Also, you have a online course too, right? Online material.
Yeah, so when it comes to understanding crypto as a whole, there are many different ways to approach it. You can approach it through technical analysis like I do, or you can focus on more of a data science perspective and look at the macro cutting edge insights of what's going on when it comes to altcoin market cycles. So I offer courses for different segments. I have a technical analysis course. I have an altcoin investing course, which would help you understand where we are in the cycle when it comes to altcoins and alt seasons. When do they occur? When to time trend accelerations for altcoins? When are we going to see money flow into those altcoins and when back into Bitcoin? And now we're seeing money flow into Bitcoin, understandably, because many people are panic selling their altcoins and buying Bitcoin to just capture this upcoming uptrend.
I see. Okay, so if you're watching this video, I put all the links in the description, so please go check it out. He also has a YouTube channel, so please make sure you go there and subscribe. All right, cool. Thanks for the intro. And okay, let's get into the market. And I want to get into Bitcoin, I want to get into altcoin, but also let's start with the more big picture. So when I see the market right now, obviously it seems like a bull market, right? Bitcoin is going up and up and up. But the question for me is that where are we in the bull market? And some people say we are still in the middle middle of the bull market, or some people say like, oh, maybe this is the end of the bull market. Do you have any opinion on that, or like could you maybe educate us, as to like where we are right now?
Totally. So we have had that mid-cycle correction in May, minus 53% crash. And if we think about Bitcoin through the lens of the 4-year cycle, so we tend to see 1 year of a bull market, then a bear market, then a year of a bottoming out period where nothing's really going on. And then in the year 4, you see a recovery. So it's just basically 1, 2, 3 and yearly candles. Each year signifies a different part of the cycle. Year 1 is the most exponential. The second is the bear market. The third is the bottoming out period. And the fourth is the recovery period. We're now theoretically through the lens of the 4-year cycle. We're now enjoying the most exponential candle 1, where we're seeing new all-time highs and just rapid acceleration. But the thing about this 4-year cycle model is that there's a bit of doubt in terms of whether or not this cycle is being a bit distorted, because we've had that correction in May. And because we've had that correction last for 5 months, this now gives us some insight into, technical analysts that we might be seeing a lengthening in this cycle, which means that this year should have been the most exponential movement towards the upside. And while we are seeing that, we should see that continue into 2022 because of this correction. And this correction essentially gave us some insight into where we are in the cycle. Specifically, we are halfway through. We're halfway through the bull market, and now we have revisited these new all-time highs. And of course, some people might be panicking a bit because we've seen a bit of a dip. But historically, we don't see double tops happen for Bitcoin's price action. Whenever we see that all-time high get broken, that just precedes a new all-time high for Bitcoin going forward. So Bitcoin could see a bit of a dip now, but I don't think there's anything to worry about. We'll probably see new all-time highs later in the coming weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's kind of exciting. All right. So prices most likely, go up to towards the end of the year, right? And then let's get into this, like a reason why it's it's becoming this, there's so much money is flowing into, right? And one aspect of that which I'm kind of curious about is Bitcoin futures ETF. And it was approved in the US, and then I heard that like that kind of also triggers this kind of like a continuous growth. But also some people say like, oh, Bitcoin futures ETF is like, kind of like, for example, like what's it called? Kathy Wood from ARK Investment. She said like, she's not gonna be getting into like ETF, not yet as of now. So I'm just getting like this mixed message in terms of ETF. So do you have any opinion on ETF? Does this actually provide like a good impact on the price right now and going forward towards the end of the year?
I think the ETF is a really important catalyst in just propelling what we're already seeing in the charts as technical analysts. So to give you a bit more of an idea, this current 2021 cycle is very similar to the cycle that we've seen in 2013, because in 2013, we saw a fantastic move up, just like we saw going into May this year. And then we saw a crash in 2013, and we saw a crash in this cycle as well. And what's really interesting about that is that this cycle is essentially copying that 2013 cycle. If you just look at the monthly candles on the price chart, you'll just see how the movements in the price is pretty much identical. And it's really fascinating to see that. And the thing about this history repeating itself is that we don't really have a good argument to say that history won't repeat itself, because so far it's been copying that cycle so perfectly. And the way that cycle resolved, of course, was in new all-time highs and parabolic upside in the second part of the cycle. And that's what we're setting up for in this cycle as well. And now the technicals are positioned for that upside, but this ETF as a fundamental catalyst is what's going to spur on this FOMO, extreme euphoria, and extreme greed that drives the price towards new all-time highs. And this ETF spurs that on because as a catalyst, it makes things a little bit more easier for traditional casual investors who haven't heard about Bitcoin or they want to dabble a bit and invest in Bitcoin. So the ETF makes it much easier to buy Bitcoin without actually owning that Bitcoin and without having to, struggle with the security risks and storage. Very easy to just have and own Bitcoin and be able to join this investment class, this asset class, and have some Bitcoin exposure. So this ETF is going to bring more casual investors into the ecosystem, which is obviously a positive thing towards getting that media attention and mainstream attention above all else.
I see. Yeah, I heard like someone was saying that this, SEC is officially, approved this, ETF really gives people green, basically people take that as like a green light from SEC about the Bitcoin. So that like basically makes people more comfortable, putting money in Bitcoin. Do you think those like psychological things gonna, impact is actually huge in this case too?
Absolutely, absolutely. Whenever you have the SEC say something like that, whether it's positive news or even bad news, we've had our fair share of bad news in the past as well.
Yeah.
We've had the SEC ban stuff and say that crypto wasn't. Yeah, we've had loads of things, and it's very similar to what, for instance, with the China ban a few months ago. Remember the mining situation where miners had to relocate and begin their operations in different areas in the world because China had banned mining, and that was when we saw that extreme pessimism and extreme fear occur for investors because we saw price continue to crash after that ban. But since then, we've seen all this positive news come out, and this obviously also impacts the price in the same way bad news impacts the price by making price go down. Good news makes it go up, and the SEC being pro Bitcoin now and the ETF coming out, it's all good news, and this is going to spur on more confidence from investors, which ultimately drives the price higher and higher.
I see. Yeah. Just to touch on the, the mining situation, like a mining ban in China. I heard it's really interesting, like an argument, which is basically is a lot of people take that news as a bad sign, well, negative news, but in fact, fair amount of people took that news as a good news because we don't need to worry about China's move anymore because we know China is out, right? So basically, one less certainty or uncertainty in the market. So basically, people are more comfortable putting money in Bitcoin. What do you think about that argument?
So I have two answers to that question. Number one is that we've seen many China bans over the past few years, dating back to 2011. We've seen different forms of China bans come in. And if you look across the price action for Bitcoin across history, each China ban is resulting in a less impact for price. So in the past, when you had the China ban, we'd see a massive crash. And with this China ban most recently, we only saw like maybe 15%, 20% downside. So you're seeing that, like you said, this bad news coming from China is having less of an effect. And this effect is only going to continue to get weaker over time. But at the same time, whether it's China, bad news from China or bad news anywhere, really important to understand that this bad news is always going to trigger that psychological reaction where people are extremely fearful. And we know that if people are fearful, the price goes down. And extreme fear precedes financial opportunity because that's when people don't want to buy. And that's typically when we see bottoms occur. Like with the China ban, with the mining situation, we saw a bottom form shortly afterwards. And you can see that maximum pessimism, extreme fear, is the time to be actually buying, getting greedy when other people are actually fearful. And that's when we start to see Bitcoin since then has actually doubled, more than doubled. So it's just proof in the pudding there.
Yeah, true. Yeah. It's interesting. So, okay, I think the just kind of coming back to the point where, your observation around Bitcoin's price action towards the end of the year, right? And you expect to, go up, but the question is how much. That's like what people talk about, right? Is there certain numbers that you're actually seeing, like, expect to be at the end of the year, or?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, and my answer is going to be quite unique because
Okay,
there's a
I like unique.
us technical analysts, we like to look at Bitcoin logarithmic growth curves, and that's just a big word for a very simple concept, and that's Bitcoin is in a channel over time. The top of that channel is where the bull market ends. The bottom of that channel is where the bear market ends. And right now we're in the very middle of that channel, which just gives us more insight into us being in the mid part of the bull market. And the thing about now we need to understand and try and think, well, where could the top of that channel, what price is the top of that channel? And the thing about that channel is because it's logarithmic, the top of that channel is going to be changing every month. So if Bitcoin were to explode right now, it would rally to $134,000, and that's where it would top out, right? But that's most likely not going to happen because of how things are at the moment. But if next month or in the coming months after that, that top of the channel is going to move. It's going to keep climbing. It's a moving target. So the way I approach this question, where could Bitcoin peak? It really does depend. How long does Bitcoin spend around this middle part of the channel? So current price levels of 60, 70, 80K. If we see a lot of consolidation here for a few weeks and we don't break to 100K by the end of the year, which I'm not entirely sure we will, because in previous cycles we haven't seen those that rapid explosion towards the upside like that. That would merit a visit of 100K. But generally, if we just consolidate at these highs for a long time, that means that in January we could see a price target for the end of the bull market of 160, maybe in February 170, March 180. So it really does depend how Bitcoin is behaving in this channel. And the moment it gets closer towards that channel, that's when we need to now look at the top of the channel and say, okay, this is where that target is, and that's why we might have to start de-risking a bit, because that's where the point of maximum financial risk is for Bitcoin, and you don't want to be holding Bitcoin at that point in the cycle.
That's very interesting. But that kind of makes sense, if I think about that, your approach. So, the price prediction, especially right now, it seems like a lot of people are just focusing on $100,000 per Bitcoin by the end of the year. And I think that's because of like a stock-to-flow model, argument. And I kind of want to, get into that, like in a stock-to-flow model, accuracy and then how well actually that captures the, price action of the Bitcoin. So do you think, so according to the stock-to-flow model, it's going to, Bitcoin's going to go to like 100K by the end of the year. At least that's what plan B says, right? What do you have any like opinion on this like a model? And then do you actually refer to this model from your day-to-day life, or is there anything that's like lacking from that perspective?
So absolutely, I do refer to the model, and in fact, in the Rekt Capital newsletter, I published an entire series about upside deviations and downside deviations relative to the 365-day average of the stock-to-flow model. So if you just have a look at the stock-to-flow model, you'll notice that there's this moving average that's going through it. And the price action of Bitcoin tends to deviate towards the upside beyond that line. And that's where we tend to see bull market peaks. And conversely, whenever you see Bitcoin's price action deviate, go down below that line, that's where we see bear market bottoms. So in the Rekt Capital newsletter, I've been talking about these upside and downside deviations and just understanding where could Bitcoin peak, where could it peak in the bull market, where could it go in the next bear market. Because ultimately, whenever we see an upside deviation beyond the stock-to-flow line, there are a few weeks where Bitcoin's price is going to go parabolic and then it's going to peak. And analyzing these upside deviations in terms of time, in terms of how much price tends to deviate in the past, it really, really useful to just trying to understand how much time we'd have once that deviation occurs in the bull market and where price could go. So definitely I do refer to this model for just more of a perspective, gelling this together with the Bitcoin logarithmic growth curves. I really do enjoy data science because it gives us cool, cold, rational arguments for where Bitcoin could go. Because of course the price predictions right now, you know, some people are saying 500,000, you know, it's really important to just look at the data science and try to understand where could it possibly go, what's realistic. And the Stock-to-Flow model, Bitcoin logarithmic growth curves, and data science models like that are really useful to just come up with a more unbiased, objective opinion about price.
I see. Cool. Yeah, I'm really curious to see like what's gonna happen at the end of the year. But cool. Yeah, thanks so much for the perspective. And I kind of want to get into altcoin too, and because like in Japan, people are people love, like, for example, Ethereum, right? And then people are always saying like, oh, when is the altcoin season, and in the next altcoin season, will Ethereum lead away, or other smart contract platform or any other like altcoins gonna surge above Ethereum? What's your opinion on Ethereum going forward towards the end of the year?
So when it comes to Ethereum, it closely follows Bitcoin's price action.
Cointelegraph. Like, subscribe, and hodl.